The King of the Hill reboot had every excuse to be a steaming pile of crap. Thankfully, the crap only stayed to that one scene, and what followed surprised me in the best way possible. Why it's different. Most adult cartoon comedies suffer with the Ash Ketchum eternal youth elixir problem. We have characters that are perpetually stuck as 10-year-olds in South Park and forever 39 if you're Homer Simpson. But King of the Hill did something I wish more shows would have the guts to try. They aged up the characters. They gave us a time skip. This instantly hooked me because, to be honest, I never grew up being a huge King of the Hill fan. I saw random episodes as a kid whenever it was on TV, but I never got hooked to it like The Simpsons, South Park, Family Guy, and Futurama. Most of the deeper jokes were too subtle for me, and they totally flew over my head. Back then, I didn't fully comprehend that Dale is a cuck.
I feel ya. I mean, I'm the only white dude on my road crew.
I love how Bobby slyly shuts up Emilio. It's like he's in on the joke with us. The previous King of the Hill season aired from 2008 to 2010. I couldn't even drink legally back then, and with the characters aged up, they feel like they've evolved alongside us. The setup. The opening episodes sets the tone perfectly. Hank and Peggy are returning to Texas after living in Saudi Arabia for years. Except living in Saudi Arabia is generous. They spent their time in a foreigner bubble designed to feel like a small town in the USA from the 1950s. Their return is like when Captain America woke up at the end of the first Avenger. Naturally, coming home means two things. One, reconnecting with old friends they haven't seen in years, and two, adapting to Texas that's changed in ways that they didn't expect. One of my favorite bits is Hank's first run-in with gender-neutral toilets. I like that it pokes fun at the change, but it isn't done in a mean-spirited way. From there, the show makes it clear that this season is about adjustment to the new technology, to the shifting culture, and to a world that's just moved on without you. Character arcs. Hank and Peggy. These two are now dealing with retirement and an empty nest. With Bobby living on his own, they are finding ways to keep themselves busy. The best example of this is when Hank uses Boomhauer's handyman app to keep himself busy, but since Hank's not exactly the most social guy, he does the work, skips all of the small talk, and walks out without so much as a hint of a grin. This earns him a 2-star review. Now, a normal person would take the L and adjust for a future job, but this man is so insulted by this, he goes back and fixes things for free just to prove a point, which leads to a very touching character moment about Hank learning to open up to other people. Bobby. Bobby's storyline is my favorite, and that's partly because I relate to it way too much. Instead of going to college, he's working, which is fitting for his character since he's always loved cooking. But it's not just work. Bobby is navigating young adult life with all of his awkward flair. I know I've been in a situation where I've hooked up with someone who just wanted a one-time thing, but I wasn't really able to read the signs. I've also had an arc of trying to figure out modern texting culture as a young awkward weeb. You know you've become an adult when you've lived with a roommate in a cheap cardboard wall apartment and you overheard bedroom cardio while watching anime in the corner.
Yes, anyway, so go home and play with
5 minutes later.
His scenes are painfully relatable at times, and I appreciate the show for not just making him into a gag, but actually giving him some character development by the end of the season. What works? you don't need to watch the previous seasons. I've missed most of the original run, and the episodes I do remember are a bit fuzzy to me at this stage, but I still understood everything that was going on. The callbacks are there for the longtime fans, but they don't alienate newcomers. In fact, sometimes spotting them becomes this fun little game.
Like she was kicked by a 12-year-old some time ago.
Bobby kicks Peggy, King of the Hill. That would have played out differently if that was an African parent. A-B plot balance. Most episodes juggle an A plot with Hank and Peggy and a B plot with Bobby, but sometimes the whole cast gets thrown into one big storyline, like the Bear episode, which is one of my favorites. When Bobby and Hank compete with each other, it's like a battle of old versus new. The humor. The comedy is subtle, but it lands. It's less about rapid fire gags and more about sharp little moments between characters. One of my favorite moments being Queen of the Hill. We see the mums in the alley space, but instead of cheap beer, they have wine. Tonality is important. Unlike shows like South Park, which often makes the parody itself the main event, King of the Hill uses pop culture references as seasoning, not the whole meal. The Amber Heard joke at the start of the video is just a moment in that episode, but it's not the main focus. It's a punchline, but then it's back to meaningful character interactions with Bobby and Hank. Standout moments. The masculinity episode is a perfect example of this show's balance. Instead of hammering viewers with toxic masculinity is bad, or simply just turning this into a massive Andrew Tate parody, it shows Hank, a normal average man, having his perspective valued. His long marriage makes him the voice of reason, and the conflict resolves with the men talking to each other about their problems, not being lectured by some outside force. And I think this is a really healthy solution. I just really like that bit at the end of that episode. It was quite nice to see. What doesn't work? This section contains spoilers, so if you want to, skip to this timestamp in the video and you can get the wrap up at that time point. Spoilers now. Bobby and Connie getting together is infuriating. Earlier in the season, the show nailed the transient nature of relationships. People get together fast and they also fall apart fast and just move on. That is so real and it really reflects my own life experience, so I appreciated it. So when they threw Bobby and Connie together at the end, it felt like a cheap rom-com cliche. Connie has a bad boy phase followed by realizing the nice guy was there all along. It's just this weird fantasy that doesn't happen in reality, and I just felt like it was kind of an insult to the audience. Also, I like Willow a lot more than Connie, despite the shit she pulled off at the stadium. More like dropped in the stadium, but I digress. I was not only disappointed that they went with Connie instead, but they also just left the plot of Bobby breaking up with Willow. She just disappears. Like, she was totally on point when she said Connie just wanted side dick. This was such a pure and awesome character. Why did you get rid of her? Conclusion. If for some reason you've gotten to this point in the video and you haven't seen King of the Hill, the reboot anyway, I highly recommend it. Its monotone satire on the changes of modern life is so unique, especially when its contemporaries lean heavier on the shock value and making the parody the core of the entire story, rather than genuine character development and fun interactions with other characters in the show. It's definitely worth watching even if you haven't seen the previous seasons. I love making this video, and if you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like, because if it gets 100 likes, I would really like to do a breakdown of the masculinity episode they made and why I think it's so awesome. So like the video and maybe we'll get a follow-up King of the Hill video. If not, I'll be returning back to the usual anime scheduled programming.